Are there areas
Sure.
that are the most susceptible to these outages, and why?
Well, that map really showed the areas that are most susceptible, and it's really because in this country we're using more and more electricity, so demand is growing every year. Think of all the electronic devices we all use and data centers and AI. We're using more and more electricity. We're not increasing our amount of capacity to generate electricity. So on extremely cold days, when you get a extreme temperature drop, that places a lot of stress on the electric grid. People are using more electricity. They're using more natural gas to heat their homes. So that sometimes maxes out what's in the pipeline, and there's not enough gas to make electricity as well. So that's the danger. You mentioned the storm in Texas of 2 winters ago, but just last winter, we had it happen again in the mid-Atlantic states. 9 states had rolling blackouts on Christmas Eve because of the cold weather and not enough electricity to meet the need.
Yeah, that turned out to be a billion-dollar disaster. Surprisingly, a lot of people think there was no winter in the Northeast, but that is a storm that had huge impacts. When you start to look at these scenarios, when you think winter storm, a lot of people think the shutdown of a grid must be something to do with big snow amounts, but it's actually the cold temperatures that cause a lot of the problems on the grids. Is there anything that can be done to strengthen the grids that are in place to make them less vulnerable to the temperatures?
Well, it's going to take some time, but yes, number one, there are investments to make sure that the grid and the generating assets are, for lack of a better term, insulated or winterized. That was the challenge, one of the challenges in Texas. But the other fixes are even longer term. We need to invest in more electric generation, particularly generation that's always available. You know, renewable energy, solar and wind. Sun doesn't shine 24 hours a day, wind doesn't blow 24 hours a day, so they're not as reliable as other sources. So investing in that generating capacity to meet this growing demand, that's what we need to do, especially for these peak periods when there's an extreme cold snap and the need for electricity really jumps up. That's where we need to build capacity to meet that demand.
Yeah, capacity along with infrastructure, because if you can't get the energy to folks, it doesn't matter where it's coming from, if it's renewable or otherwise. Let's talk about how individuals could prepare, families could prepare when the grid gets strained, the energy becomes scarce. Are there things that you can do during extreme cold to help yourself, to almost be proficient in your own home?
Yeah, boy, it's kind of limited, but number one, make sure you have batteries, so you have light, other ways to stay warm, lots of blankets, and also be ready for when utilities ask for voluntary cutbacks or conservation of electricity. Have a plan in mind already so you're not making it up in the moment. That may not be the most satisfying answer, but those are, I think, are the immediate tools that people have in their toolbox to address that type of situation.